Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to game week 4 and take stock of the first 3 eventful game weeks. My name is Joe and today I'm joined by Mark, aka the FPL General. He's still going without Mo and Erling and he's freshly wildcarded. Welcome Mark, how are you?
I'm very well, Joe. Good to be back. Hope you had a nice time away. I was recorded with Tom last week and probably missed having you for some wildcard thoughts.
Yeah.
Great video with Tom, of course. Tom helped me go for Joe Pedro and Cucurella, so
Yeah.
a few of the very few bright sparks in the wildcard team. So yeah, lots to get into after the wildcard in the first 3 weeks of the season, and yeah, it's been a tricky start to say the least.
Yes, what we'll do here, we'll have a look and see how Mark's wildcard got on. We'll have a look at his sort of early transfer thoughts, but next week's show we'll look at that in a bit more detail and a bit more about his decisions. And we just sort of take stock of where we are really. Want to see who's got the best for sort of expected goal involvement, most attacking players so far, just 3 weeks data. So, but interesting nevertheless. Who are the DEFCON monsters so far? We'll look at the top tens of both of them. We'll look at Mark's captaincy matrix as well. See who's going to be captaining if it's not going to be Salah or Haaland in the next few weeks. And as I said, pack show there. So do remember to press that like button. Does help us out, and do remember to subscribe. Keep up to date with our latest videos and podcasts. And do check out offers at fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. All the access to all the tools and gadgets to help you climb up your mini leagues. Okay, let's have a look at the freshly wildcarded team. So you're going. Actually, you've probably managed to save a transfer. So you're going to go into the next game week with 2 transfers, and you've probably got quite a lot of money in the bank because you're not going for Salah. So do you want to just take us through your wildcard team? So you've got 41 points, and I don't know what rank because you're 7.9 million in the rankings, but I don't know if that was a particular change from last week.
No, it's as usual when you wildcard, it comes with a necessity that you have to get a red arrow the first game week, no matter where you are in the ranking. So I think it was 7.7 down to 7.9, but I keep telling myself I'm looking forward to telling the grandkids about this season. You know that I went from 7.9 million to top 10k, top 100k even. I think at this stage with no Salah and Haaland.
Yeah.
So yeah, tricky start, but again, doesn't matter too much. And it's comforting that a lot of managers that even do have Salah and Haaland are 4 or 5 million rank as well. So it's not as if people are stretching miles ahead straight away. But yeah, so decided to wildcard. I've actually only got one transfer because I made the Reinders transfer game week 2, but there is 4.6 million in the bank. Very much with eyes on Saka, Palmer when they're fit.
Okay.
I'm hoping this Isak move goes through, which looks likely. Yeah, because I could do with Isak as a captaincy candidate after the international break. So yeah, first game week wasn't great for the wildcard, but I feel like the team is in pretty good shape going forward. The biggest disaster was Emi Martinez. Really liked him as a differential, and then didn't play. Heavy links to Manchester United. But Manchester United look to be signing another goalkeeper now today, which is Monday. So we'll see what happens with Martinez, whether he goes somewhere else or he stays at Villa. So I'll just monitor that one. But at least had a 2-pointer from Dubravka. It wasn't a 0. Defenders quite happy. Kept Porro. Brought in Munoz and Cucurella. So that was all good because I dropped double Forest defence. I dropped 8 Nuri. So defensively it was okay. And I'm happy with those 3. And I've got Van Dijk on the bench. Didn't expect an 8-pointer against Arsenal, but here we are. Midfield, Semenyo very close to points again, and very happy to hold him long term. Kudus, the last decision on the wild card was Kudus versus Sar. Really, I contemplated that one for a long time and ended up just going for fixtures more so on Kudus. Sar wins the first week, but hopefully Kudus comes good. Went for Cunha over Bruno, kind of a Thursday decision, maybe even a Friday decision. I had Bruno the first 2 game weeks, just wanted to back my own eye test on Cunha. Could have had a hat trick the week before, and then, of course, injured after half an hour. I've been unlucky with captains because Palmer was injured the first week, but we didn't know he was carrying the injury. Saka went off injured game week 2, and Cunha went off injured game week 3. So hopefully the captaincy curses are over for the season, and the next 35 game weeks are better. That's why the rank is where it is mainly captaincy, not getting anything from it.
Yeah.
Reinders blanked again. Brought in Gyökeres, didn't expect much against Liverpool, but happy to have him in place. Joe Pedro came in as well, so a lot of the guys who came in actually did well. Kept Chris Woods, wanted something from him against West Ham, but we'll bench him probably for Arsenal and 2 good fixtures again afterwards. And a strong bench, Gakpo, Virgil, and Joachim Anderson. So, yeah not a great first week, but should be able to roll transfers now fairly often.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at this wildcard team, and yeah, I mean, it's obviously you'd expect more from a wildcard, but it's just a couple of players out, really. I mean, it's a captaincy. So, for example, if you'd have gone for Bruno over Cunha, well, there's 18 points suddenly extra. And then so you're looking at like 59, 60 points. And then that's a really strong game week, very strong game week as well. It's just literally that one decision there. But a lot of the players, there's some here, like if I was wildcarding last week, the likes of Semenyo, definitely. He's just like a glue player. You can just put him in. He can score against anyone. You mentioned Sarr. I probably would have put Sarr in myself just because of those fixtures coming up. Kudos is the one. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have put in just because Spurs are going to be a bit active, I think, in the transfer window, or they might not be. I just don't know. I still don't know what Spurs are at the moment, whether they're awful or brilliant. I can't decide. But a lot of the other ones, yeah, I mean, you can't argue with Pedro, Chris Wood, obviously great fixture against West Ham, did pan out. But really good fixtures after Arsenal for a couple of games. And one of the things I like particularly about your team is you've got as a Manchester United fan, you've got Manchester United's next goalkeeper in, even before he knew he was going to be Manchester United's next goalkeeper. Well, that's what the transfer speculation is.
Yeah, I do. I picked him up as a Aston Villa goalkeeper, and I do not want to have him as a Manchester United goalkeeper. I definitely prefer. Well, Villa have been a bit of a disaster, but long term, I like the fixtures, and it was all about the differential of Martinez. You try and do different things on a wild card. No one had him game week one, so but I didn't expect to have Dubravka in the team this early.
Okay, just before we look at your team reveal, I just want to mention something very briefly about my team, but it's not just because I'm really self-absorbed. It's because some other people might be in this position. Now, Mark Gui, as we call him, as a Chelsea player on loan to Sunderland, with the lapse injury at Chelsea have suddenly realised they need more strikers. Instead of buying them, they just want to bring everyone back on loan. So Mark Gui, Nicholas Jackson was about to go to Germany. He was on the flight, brought him back. So any minute, any hour, by the time you watch this, Mark Gui will suddenly have a nice blue T-shirt on and not a red and white striped one. If you already have 3 Chelsea players, and this is why it's important, like I have, you've suddenly found yourself with 4 Chelsea players. You may find yourself with 5 Liverpool players, for example. So once you do that, the game will not allow you to make any transfer apart from removing one of those players. So in my case, I have to remove a Chelsea player. Even whether I like it or not. If find yourself by the end of the transfer window with 5 Liverpool players, for example, your next transfer will have to be a Liverpool player. So that's why I wanted to mention that. So
next two transfers on the Liverpool one if you have 5.
Well, yeah, could be. Yeah. I mean that would be horrendous. I mean, if they start hoovering up all the players in your own team there, so that's not going to be a problem with your team. I don't think you've got any quadruple ups or quintuple ups so far. So, do you want to just take us through your team? Apologies for it says two free transfers there. That's my error there. It's actually, as you said, I forgot you made the Reindeers transfer. So you've got one. You just got one free transfer, but you do have a sizable sum, well over 4 million in the bank. So do you want to take us through your team and your early thoughts? What you want to do with that 4 million or so?
Yeah, there was always, impossible to spend the 4 million really when there was so many premiums either injured or not accessible due to my own way of playing this season. So it's good to have it, and it will definitely get used up in the near future when guys come back. And if Isak goes to Liverpool, that's the one I really wanted to happen. Once he gets up to full fitness, I probably won't go there as soon as Gameweek 4 because he may not start against Burnley. But soon after that, I know I will want him. And maybe that's the out from Chris Wood, for example. There's probably enough cash there to do that. But just to go through the team as it looks for Gameweek 4. So Martinez in goal, question marks there. We'll see what happens over the next couple of hours. Hopefully he's back in a Villa shirt and it saves me a transfer. Could play a back 4 this week, maybe even a back 5. Munoz home to Sunderland is a definite. Porro's got West Ham away, that's fine. Cucurella and Virgil van Dijk. Anderson's on the bench and he's at home to Leeds, so there's a strong case to play him as well. I think it was Joe Pedro's clearance off the line was from an Anderson header. He's looked quite threatening so far this season. Midfield looks good. Semenyo, Brighton home, Kudus, West Ham away, and Gakpo at Burnley. Up front, armband currently on Gyökeres at home to Forest. Joe Pedro's got Brentford, and Chris Wood's got Arsenal. So you could make a case for benching Chris Wood this week. Need to see what happens with Cunha's fitness. Reinders is an option. So I'm going to have benching headaches every week, but I kind of made peace with that with the wild card. When there's so much cash to spend, I kind of like going with a well-rounded squad, knowing that the wild card now is gone, and if things pop up like Cunha injuries or anything else, I won't always have to automatically make a transfer because I've got ready-made replacements on the bench. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, if I had this team, there obviously I would bench Chris Wood away to Arsenal because I also don't think he'll play because he's coming back from the middle of the Pacific or wherever New Zealand are playing. And I think this fixture last season came back from an international break, away to Arsenal, didn't start. So I would put him on the bench. And Cunha, has got on paper, tough fixture anyway. My personal, because your defence is good, as you said, it's too good. Got to bench it. You can't argue with Gyökeres at home to Nottingham Forest, and Pedro, who's doing well at Chelsea. But I would just move Cunha to Sarr. You mentioned Sarr earlier, and he's even captainable as well at home to Sunderland. So I would. I mean, Mateta's a strong player to bring in, but you haven't got any space. But I mean, Mike Percy would just move Cunha to Sarr. You'd have even more in the bank then.
Yeah, I have thought about it. It's probably the only transfer that's crossed my mind straight after the wild card. Obviously, ideally, I would like to bank a transfer, but given how much I tore my head out Friday on Kudus versus Sarr, and then straight away you get the Sarr goal and the Kudus blank, and maybe it's just an error on my part that I might want to fix longer term. But it might not even have to be fixed. Kudus might not have to go. Like you say, it could just be if Cunha's got a significant injury, which we don't know yet, then maybe it could just be a straight switch, Cunha to Sarr, and then Sarr can come into the 11 for a really good fixture in Gameweek 4. So I'm definitely open to the Sarr transfer. I think if I make any move this week or next week, it will be Sarr.
Yeah, I did one of the latest is with Sarr. I had lots of reports, or the match reports were saying that he went off in the final couple of minutes with what they was clutching his hamstring, they were saying. But then I heard reports afterwards he was saying I'll be fine for the next game. And obviously he's in the I can't forget which country he plays for, but I know he's an international, and so he's off, I believe. So I guess we'll.
Or maybe that's a hand on the hamstring to get out of the duty, maybe. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Could be, but I haven't seen any flags or anything on him, and it's just as I said, it was just reports. Yes, he could have been. It may not be that at all, but yeah, just something to be aware of there. I think it's it's pretty good shape. I would expect to see the arrows turn green in future.
Well, there's not much further I can go, so it's got to be green soon.
No, but I was going to look at the. I think now might be a good time to have a look at the captaincy matrix because, as you said, I think the difference between your team and lots of other teams is that Erling Haaland and Mo Salah because they're the reliable captains. So Mo Salah didn't return this week, but did in the previous 2 weeks. Not much points, but nevertheless, Haaland did really well this week as well. And let's have a look at the captaincy matrix and see where you might go. So game week 4, Salah away to Burnley is the best, but so you've got to move elsewhere. Gyökeres currently with the armband on, and as I mentioned, Sarr, or you could put Mateta there as well at home to Sunderland. I think a very viable captaincy. I think you're okay. Game week 5, it's a problem. I found Salah at home to Everton. I don't know about you, but I couldn't find another captain. So who are you going to captain in game week 5?
Yeah, game week 5. What I'm going to definitely do is leave enough cash when it comes to game week 5 for Isak because Liverpool are the first fixture, and we often get team leak. So if there was news on the morning of the 20th of September before the Merseyside derby that Isak was in the starting 11, I am pretty sure I would bring him in and give him the armband because, like I'm struggling that week probably for an outstanding captain. I mean, Chris Wood plays Burnley, but I don't really ever like captaining Chris Wood. I like him as a pick, but he doesn't strike me as an explosive pick, and I do. I would prefer an Isak. So it'll be all eyes on Isak. Hopefully the move goes through and he's up to speed by then. Yeah. And that's probably my best non-Salah captain that week.
Yeah, I think in captains, yeah, I mentioned Salah, but obviously, yeah, Liverpool is the place to go. But it's hard to know with Gakpo and the other attackers whether Verts, for example, is not really doing well. We're not quite sure what's going to be happening where they're going to play. So yeah, that could be quite good. Game week 6, Haaland at home to Burnley. So once again, you've got another problem there, but you do have a couple of options. I think Chris Wood is actually quite an option at home to Sunderland, and Palmer at home. Just check it is at home. Yeah, at home to Brighton. So that historically could be quite good. Brighton are scoring a lot, but they're conceding a lot. So yeah, I think you're okay for game week 6.
Yeah, and it's going to be as soon as Cole Palmer's fit again, I will probably start relying on him again when it
Yeah.
comes to armband. I know he's been disappointing for a long time, but I kind of need him to.
Okay.
I need him to get back to some kind of semblance of form. So the key for me, I think, is because I've put a few bob on the bench as well with the wild card. Any move I make will have. I'll look 2 or 3 moves ahead as well and think, how do I get Palmer? How do I get Isak? Can I get both, for example? So I need to be a wee bit careful with what I spend.
Okay, game week 7, that strategy could come unstuck because Haaland's away to Brentford, so he would be popular. And unfortunately, Cole Palmer has got the Liverpool game, so you probably wouldn't captain him there. There are a couple of other options, so you could actually move Palmer on fairly swiftly. Bruno Fernandes, how reliable is he at home to Sunderland? That could be good. Saka could be back at home to West Ham, and you've also got Gyökeres. So I would say Gyökeres would probably be your best bet that week if you decided to keep Palmer.
Yeah, and a big part of bringing Gyökeres in now, it wasn't the ideal entry point with Liverpool, but it was looking ahead and it was looking at captaincy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to back him to bring his fantastic goal scoring record from Portugal here. Now it's
Yeah.
not going to be as good, of course. It's a much tougher league, but especially when Saka and Co are back, fully fit and supplying Gyökeres, I expect goals and plenty of them. So certainly. Gyökeres home to West Ham, I've earmarked as a captain. And like you say, if Saka's fit by then, maybe he comes in to join him.
Yeah, and game week 8 is another problem, a bit like game week 5. You've really got to be looking at Man City or Liverpool. So you haven't got Haaland and Salah. They would be the most popular captains that week. Salah at home to Manchester United. That's a good fixture for him. Haaland at home to Everton. Everton are now an attacking side and poor defensively. They've just completely switched. We've got to recalibrate there. But yeah, so it's quite tough there. Palmer again away to Nottingham Forest. It's not really captain territory. So you would imagine you might chance Isak maybe.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Game week 8 certainly seems the trickiest for me, captaincy wise. Again, Arsenal away to Fulham. Fulham are a good defensive side, but I don't. I don't mind. I feel like Saka or Gyökeres is never going to be a terrible shout unless you're playing a really top team. And again, yeah, Isak, if he's at Liverpool against my team, maybe. But I think I'd probably go Arsenal there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I hope that's useful for you, and hope that's useful for your fellow travellers in the world without Haaland and Salah, but also for the rest of us as well about who will captain with a bit more choice there. Let's have a look at the XGI, the expected goal involvement style. There's top 10 here. So this is just 3 weeks worth of data, really small sample. And as we saw with the likes of, say, Bowen and other West Ham players, terrible the first 2 game weeks, third game week, absolutely incredible. And who would have guessed they would put 3 past Nottingham Forest? So it's hard to tell. But I'll go down this list, see if any you're interested in. Obviously, Haaland, you're not interested in. He's top here. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, every 60 minutes. He's got 5 shots on target, created a chance, he's got 3 goals. But you're not going to go for him. But it just shows that he is in good form at the moment. What's interesting, I'll tell you quickly who's not in here. Salah. Salah's not here for expected goal involvement, non-penalty. Hasn't really been doing that well. I'm probably looking to get rid of him in game week 6 for Erling Haaland and maybe even wildcard game week 7. But I'm not looking to get Salah long term, really. So I guess that proves that at least 50% of your strategy is probably quite sound.
Yeah, but I think the reason we're not seeing Salah on the list is because it was Arsenal. It was Bournemouth,
Yeah,
Newcastle, Arsenal,
yeah.
three really good teams. And that's why a lot of people went Haaland to begin with maybe a plan to switch to Salah. Now,
Yeah.
Haaland has been doing the business, maybe. I mean, they both did okay. They're not, neither of them have been terrible. They're both returning. But yeah, I'm much more fearful now of Salah because the
Yeah.
fixtures are going to improve.
Yeah, yeah. That's. I mean, those that are doing a sort of switch now is Salah time because the fixtures of Burnley, Everton, well, those two. But then Crystal Palace, that's quite tough. But then Man City, they've got Manchester United, Arsenal, and then it turns in Game Week 6 to Burnley. So next two, so Salah time, and then it sort of switches. The focus sort of switches to
Yeah.
Haaland there.
If you're trying to predict what this table looks like at the end of Game Week 6, you're going to see Salah here. You would expect.
Yeah, definitely. Esteval at Chelsea. Now, Chelsea are an interesting moment. Lots of injuries, lots of new players, as you expect. Lots of players like Pedro we know are doing really well. Palmer, we're still not sure of, been injured. But Esteval's been looking good. He's been, his minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, every 89 minutes. So he's having a go. He's 6.5 million. He's had a couple of shots on target, created a couple of chances, and he's got an assist so far. So he's going to start appearing on the goals imminent table. We've got a podcast coming up with Mark, other Mark with a C, Mark Joblin, one of the writers at Fantasy Football Scout. We've got a podcast coming up this week. So I'm gonna hope that Esteval is on that. You would imagine he would be. Yeah, he's another. He's one for you. I don't know if you've already watch listed him.
Yeah, he's very exciting. He's one that's really caught the eye in the first couple of game weeks, and I think going into the season and even recently would be maybe a wee bit wary of game time. But I think the Delap injury might play into his hands because Pedro's been playing number 10, and we would expect Palmer maybe to go on the right if Delap was fit. But now Delap's out long term, we'll probably see Pedro go up top again. Palmer goes in behind him, and that keeps the spot open for Estevao on the right hand side. And I mean, if Maresca's obviously watching the same games we're watching, Estevao is a huge outlet for them on the right hand side. He's really difficult for defenders to deal with, and there's certainly routes to points there for goals and assists. So yeah, the only thing is he's very very young, and he's new, and there's always minutes are a little bit scary. But for 6.5, I quite like him as a differential.
Yeah, definitely. Next name, I haven't seen him in a single team. Maybe I'm just not hanging around Bournemouth too much, but it's Bournemouth's Brooks. His minutes per expected goal involvement non-penalty, every 113 minutes. He's had a couple of shots on target and 6 chances created. So there's 8 sort of potentials there. He's only got 1 assist so far, but it sounds like he should have got more. But people are going for Semenyo. Evan Nilsson's starting to show the promise that we thought there. But Brooks, Tavernier, those types of players, they could be really good differentials.
Yeah, I think the problem is there's too many of them at Bournemouth for my liking. With Kluivert's up to full fitness, someone needs to drop out. Brooks has had a really good start to the season. He almost caught Vicario out with a really clever free kick at the weekend as well. But yeah, I have minutes concerns about him longer term, and I think at 5 million, your man Dewsbury Hall, I think, is a bit of a no-brainer at the moment at that price. So
Yeah.
I do like Dewsbury Hall safer for minutes over David Brooks.
Yeah, I've seen Dewsbury Hall on a number of benches this week. I refer people back to some of the Dewsbury Hall comments I've made on previous videos after my experience of owning him at Leicester, is that you will get bench points off him if you bench him. So with players like that, you have to play them every week. He'll get 2, 2, 2, 1, massive haul, 2, 2. For 5 million, that's brilliant, I think. But that's the sort of player you got there. But yeah, he's competing with that. There's King at Fulham as well. If you're a bit short for cash, he scored. He basically scored. The records won't show he scored, but he scored. So 4.5 starting attacking midfielder for Fulham. I think he is a really strong candidate for anyone wildcarding, perhaps.
Yeah, King's been. I think he's been sensational to start the season. I hadn't seen him play before. I know he had maybe 9 or 10 appearances last season from the bench or whatever, but he is so good for his age. And the goal was incredibly good. The finish in particular, kind of giving the goalkeeper the eyes. But then there was another one that stood out for me as well. He got to the byline at one point and got his head up, played a great cut back for Castagna, and it was Caicedo made a fantastic block, I think it was. So Josh King looking really, really good. arguably better than the previous Josh King that we had.
Yeah, definitely. Marmouche is next. Getting some starts now. Minutes per expected goal involvement non-penalty every 121 minutes. Just behind Haaland. A couple of shots on target, created a couple of chances, gotten just an assist so far. So more to come from him. I think anyone with Marmouche who's dropped in price, arguably, well, from game week 6, he's certainly one I'll monitor if I can afford him and Haaland.
I think the key here is Cherky. Cherky's injured, possibly for 2 months. So that's
Yeah.
I would have no interest in Marmouche until I read that news. So it's just one less bit of competition in a similar part of the pitch for Manchester City. So we know Pep likes him, and I expect his minutes to be a little bit better now. So yeah, definitely another differential option.
Next name on the list is Grealish. I saw a really good, I can't remember the picture I saw somewhere on social media. It was just like a dilapidated slum house with a massive sports car parked in front of it. And it just said Grealish at Everton. That's a bit harsh on Everton. But Grealish is looking so good. I remember many years ago when he played in his Villa days, he played Yeovil. Understandably, it was against Yeovil. But as soon as he came on, Villa transformed from a nothing team to a sports car, even though it was against Yeovil. But that's what he does every match at the moment. So it was what he did at Villa, and he's looking amazing. He's had 4 assists so far. He created 5 chances, got 1 shot on target. The whole Everton attack is looking really sharp. All 4, all 4 attackers are working so well together. And it's hard to believe that they're just sort of, half of them are just sort of first time they've been playing with each other. But Grealish at 6.7, gone up in price a little bit. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty every 126 minutes. And he's averaging an appearance of 8 defensive contributions. So not quite getting to the 12 needed, but promise there. Grealish, yeah, I mean, I'd be very tempted to put him on a wild card. He's sounds like a glue player all season.
Yeah, we've got our Grealish back, which is exciting FPL wise. Like you say, throwback to the Villa days when he was a
Yeah.
really viable FPL pick, and you plugged him in and you just left him there, and he ticked over pretty nicely. The Everton in general, I'm watching Everton at the moment. I'm thinking, I can't believe this is Everton. The attack. Dewsbury Hall, fantastic signing. Njai is an incredible footballer, and Grealish just complements it all so well. Could do with a better striker, but Beto, Barry, these guys will. There's going to be plenty of chances created for them. But certainly the midfielders I'm more interested in. And fixture wise doesn't look too bad now either, because Villa have been struggling. I think they've got Villa up next. Obviously his old team there as well. But Grealish, looks really, really good. And if it continues, he's going to be in every team soon. But I still really like Njai.
Yeah.
I think Njai is probably going to get more goals than Grealish, but Grealish has more, maybe more routes to points with the assists. So it's and then Dewsbury Hall is incredible value. So I think it's really hard to actually choose just one Everton attacker. And I think the key here is international break, recalibrate. I've been avoiding Everton attackers for years because they don't score enough goals, but I think that's going to change this year.
Yeah, so they've got Aston Villa next. That's actually now a good fixture. But then they've got Liverpool away. Then they've got West Ham at home, Crystal Palace at home, Man City away. So they're not the greatest fixtures, but it's that Tottenham game week 9, Sunderland away, Fulham at home. Once again, they're not amazing, but they're quite good. I think overall the fixtures are worthy of at least one Everton attacker. I think at the moment
it is a loan deal, isn't it, for Grealish as well? So he won't be able to play City. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, good point. That's a good point, actually. So there's that City game, so he won't play in game week 8. Yeah, it's sort of game week 9. Well, for me, it would be a double up. Brian Mbomo is next. So he was the Manchester United midfielder. Perhaps you should have gone for. But it's a tough choice, isn't it? You've got Bruno Fernandes, penalties. We know what you can do with so many routes to points as it showed. Brian Mbomo, is so creative. He's on a lot of set pieces, taking a lot of corners, and Cunha's just looked the best. But obviously unfortunate with the injury. But Brian Mbomo, you love him. You've got Brian Mbomo wallpapers, duvet set, everything. Short. I mean, Yeah, it's tough fixtures, but coming up. But I'm trying to find where Manchester United are on the fixtures. Yeah, they're right at the bottom. I have to really go down my list here. Yeah, Man City, Chelsea, Brentford, Sunderland game's good in game week 7. But yeah, it's a mixed bag, isn't it? But yeah, Brian Mbeumo, minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty every 128 minutes. He has had 4 shots on target, created a whopping 9 chances, the most of anyone on this table, and obviously he has had his goal as well.
Just saying hello to the dog in the background there, coming to join us.
Yeah.
Manchester United. I went for Cunha. I mean, I love Brendan Bumo, but I love Cunha even more, and that's why I went there. Obviously, disaster. Worst case scenario for me.
Yeah.
Bumo scores. Bruno scores. The Bruno last minute penalty or 96, 97. I was in the shopping centre keeping an eye on my phone, and I was angry when that happened. I'm not going to lie, because the initial plan was to have Bruno and Cunha, but again, you look at those fixtures. I knew as soon as I get to game week 4, I wouldn't want a double Manchester United attack.
Yeah. No.
And now I might have 0 because of the Cunha injury. So Bruno, it's on reflection, if you're trying to get points, you get the guy who can get DEFCON and takes penalties. You don't overthink it. And Bumo's obviously got some set pieces as well over Cunha. So it probably is Bruno 1, Bumo 2, Cunha 3 at the moment. I took the punt. It didn't work out. Maybe in a different season, playing more traditionally, I would have just stuck to the boring Bruno captaincy pick. But I want to be more aggressive this season and play off the cuff a little bit. It didn't work, but certainly, yeah, Bruno, if you have him, even with the fixtures, you can probably just keep him because you'll get DEFCON and you'll probably get a couple of penalties as well. So,
So next name on the list is Sarr, the one that you might get in. I was going to get in, but I don't think I can now because I've got too many Chelsea players I have to get rid of. In minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty of 131 minutes. He has got a couple of goals so far, a couple of shots on target, created a chance. He's only 6.5. He will go up, I would imagine, during the international break. And his defensive contributions is sort of 7 every appearance. So they're starting to get towards sort of halfway mark. But I don't expect him to get too many of those. We've spoken about Sarr already. Fixture-wise, next to a great. That's a good one to bring in. Next name is someone you probably won't consider, but I think you should, and it's Jadon Anthony at Burnley. He's 5.5, so he is mixing with those cheaper players, the Dewsbury Halls of this world, who are 5 million. But his minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty, 133 minutes. On our Goals Imminent podcast, the first week we highlighted him, and he duly obliged with some returns next week, and indeed the week after as well. He's got an incredible assist and 2 goals from his 3 chances created. He's got 7 defensive contributions per appearance so far, and he's had 3 shots on target. He is looking great, and the reason I mention him is because those who are wildcarding or perhaps looking at a bench boost, wildcard towards a bench boost or just bench boosting, Burnley play Leeds in game week 8. So for those with, say, for example, Dubravka, Rodon, Anthony, they might have a Leeds attack as well. It's quite a strong week because it's hard to call that, and you could get attacking returns from both. So it's and defensive contributions as well from their defenders. So yeah, he's a real long-term plan, but I'm thinking about him for a game week 8 bench boost.
Yeah, I don't think it will be until that time because they play Liverpool and City in the next 3. But it's a good point you made. When I was wildcarding last week, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to tie the bench boost, to the wildcard, and in the end, I decided not to. And I'm kind of flexible anyway because I've got a strong bench. I can kind of go any week that it lines up. And I did look at game week 8 and the Burnley factor because I've got Dubravka. I was kind of thinking about keeping a Esteve or Rodon as well, but I ended up going 4.5 as my 5th defender instead. But I certainly think game week 8 is one to keep a very close eye on if you still have your bench boost and you have Dubravka or some of these cheaper defenders. There's probably a couple of other fixtures there that, Sunderland Wolves, for example, you could tap into. West Ham play Brentford. So there's fixtures where you could get bench boost
Yeah.
for that.
Okay. Just two more names we mentioned here. We'll speak to it because we want to look at defensive contributions in a sec. Semenyo is next. You mentioned him already in your team. There's good reason why. He's got 2 goals and an assist. Great, 5 chances, 4 on target. Minutes per expected goal involvement, non-penalty of 138 minutes. So all of these shots and chances are all of a quality with him. Not much more to be said about him. Well, he's obviously in your team for good reason. Final name, Chris Wood, is on here. Every 143 minutes, you don't get him from the XG, you get him for the G. 2 goals already so far. Disappointed against West Ham. Got a bad fixture against Arsenal. Might not even play it anyway because of travelling back. But then he's got 2 really good fixtures. Then he's got Burnley away and Sunderland at home. Doesn't get better than that. Chris Wood, an absolute great player to get in for Game Week 5.
And I'm going to keep him. I'm going to keep him obviously for the good fixtures coming up. But I would like Wood to become Isak at some point, to have Gyökeres, Isak, Jared Pedro front 3. Sounds pretty powerful. That not many people would have. So fine for now, but probably not going to have him long term.
Yeah, definitely. Let's have a look at defensive contributions. So this is a top 10, but I've made it a top 11 because at the bottom you've got Keane, Garner at Everton, and Tarkowski. Tarkowski was just slightly below for whatever reason, but it was probably alphabetical. So I thought it would be wrong not to put him in, especially because he's a popular player here. So we'll go through this. This is defensive contributions per appearance so far. Brighton's Weaver, who's been playing sort of a right back. He's the absolute star of this so far. But there are Lamptey's just gone at Brighton. Veltman we've seen come back in. Weaver can play midfield as well, so there's still a minute's risk there. But nevertheless, it's worth mentioning he's getting 15 defensive contributions per appearance, which is outstanding, really. So that's just a guaranteed 2 points. So if you get I was working out the other day, actually, I don't know if you've done this with defensive contributions. Say if you get 5 players with defensive contributions a week, you can nail it. And it's pretty easy to do if you've got Casado, some of the names we're about to mention here in your team, and you do that just say over 30 weeks. That's like 10 times 30. That's 300 points extra just by getting the really boring stuff. And I thought about that, and I just thought by the end of the season, that's the difference between top 10k and top 150k. No, even more than that. That's like the difference between top 10k and top 500,000. So
can you get there without the goals and assists from the more exciting players?
Well, yeah, but you don't have to. Hopefully you can get both with one of the players we're about to mention on this list. But more about him in a sec. Van Dijk is next. So in your team for good reason. We thought this would happen with him, and he can get clean sheets as well. His defensive contributions per appearance, he's getting 14 points there, which is well over the threshold of 10 that he needs, which is fantastic. Another name here, Senesi at Bournemouth. He's a defender to get, I think. Defensive contributions per appearance, exactly the same as Van Dijk, 14. So he looks pretty assured as well. These are just 2 free points they're just giving away to us. Next name, Casado at Chelsea. So the threshold for midfielders is 12. He's getting 14 per appearance so far. And looking extremely strong there. And the one I want to dwell on is Bruno Fernandes. You mentioned him earlier. Defensive contributions per appearance 13.7, which is just over the 12 the needed. If he's on penalties, he can get assists. As we saw in the second half of the Burnley game, he was moved into a more attacking role, and suddenly the chance creation goes up, the shots go up. So I think he's a really good sort of player to get in, and I kind of would like to keep him because of just this range of points.
Yeah, even though he's expensive, it's he is ideal set and forget because of he's got more routes to points and as many routes to points as any player in the game. Even when he does play deep, he still gets in the box at times. People overplay the playing deep too much. I watched Gameweek 2 and he was a couple of times popping up in really good positions. On that Brennan Bruno goal at the weekend, Bruno was right behind him. If Bruno didn't score, it was going to be Bruno scoring that one. So I'm probably fortunate that I've only missed out on one goal there. And I fully expect to own Bruno again at a later date when the fixtures improve a little bit more.
Next, another Bournemouth asset, Adams here. Defensive contributions per appearance of 13. minutes there. Crystal Palace players next. LaCroix. We thought he would do well. We had some analysis of Fantasy Football Scout points last season. He was a sort of surprise name that popped up there. He's actually quite been attacking. Well, it certainly was in pre-season as well. It's only 5 million. If I can't afford Munoz, I think I'll just go for him. Defensive contributions per appearance 12.7. It's well over what the 10 he needs. Got a couple of good fixtures left next, so I think he's a very strong option there.
I was really close to going Lacroix over Munoz on the wild card. I even contemplated getting both players because I just think they're both really good.
Yeah.
Lacroix, I think there's a good chance Lacroix might come out on top for total points over the season. I think he might have got an assist at the weekend as well, which is a nice little bonus. So yeah, Lacroix, Munoz are looking like really, really good options there at Palace.
Yeah. Because I've got that Chelsea Mark Gui situation, I'm going to have to remove Tosin, I think, if Palmer's fit to play. And so it probably will be Munoz or Lacroix. So I'm witnessing my next player in, possibly. Vandenberg at Brentford, being really strong, actually. I've seen him in a few teams, and I think that's good. Brentford have looked all right, actually. The defensive contributions per appearance 12.3, well over what he needs, the 10. So I think with Brentford's fixtures improve, which they don't at the moment, but when they do, I would definitely be looking at him, I think.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have Kelleher, and if you're gonna play Kelleher in good fixtures, then I always like doubling up on, if you're going after one clean sheet with Kelleher, why not go after two with Vandenberg and try and get the defensive contributions as well? So yeah, he's looking like a very viable 4.5.
Yeah, and just finally, it was those three Everton players that I mentioned: Keane, Garner, Tarkowski. They're all getting defensive contributions per appearance 12. They're all getting 12 per appearance. So Everton, they've got this nice blend of not necessarily keeping those clean sheets, but Pickford with his penalty save as well. We're getting defensive points from these players, whether or not clean sheets or not is another matter, but we're getting defensive points. And they're attacking players. We mentioned the Grealish, Dewsbury Hall and Dye. They're all very strong assets there. So yeah, Everton definitely one to look at there from both ends of the pitch.
Yeah, Tarkowski's another one like Caicedo. You'll just look at the end of the season and think, why did I just not have him all season? Because the extra points will just, build over time, and he'll finish with a very healthy points tally.
Okay, just before we go, just a question I wanted to ask you about your wild card as well. So you've been through some of the things, the 50-50 decisions. Some could have gone better, some, but on the whole, you're okay with the planning. But just going through some of the things we've been looking at, really, each week we get more information. What do you think has been the difference between wildcarding ahead of Game Week 3 and Game Week 4? Because there will be a number of wildcarding during the international break. What do you think the key differences in information? What do you know now that you didn't know then?
A couple come to mind. Probably, you get another game week and you get a goal out of Sarr. You probably go there over Kudus. That's one example. You get a Tottenham goalless game against, or at least Tottenham don't score against Bournemouth. The other things, you're probably looking at things like a Solanke injury now, might need surgery. So Richarlison jumps up in my pecking order. I was looking at him anyway. I was a bit fearful of, like Chris Wood, Richarlison after the international break, maybe not playing after being away with Brazil. That was probably the main factor I didn't go there. But yeah, there's, the transfer window's still open as we record. There'll be a couple of other things. Obviously, I didn't go Ekitike. I went Gakpo instead. And part of the reason was if Isak comes in, I'm going to be worried straight away about Ekitike. So I'm kind of glad I went Gakpo in that situation. But yeah, there's, especially today, Monday, there's loads of changing parts and, the Martinez goalkeeper situation I need to keep an eye on and stuff like that. So obviously, wild carding after an international break, after a transfer window closes is a lot more sensible than doing it a couple of days before, as I found out with Martinez. So yeah, it's if your team needs it, international break is a good time to do so.
Okay. I've got doing a video on a wildcard sort of draft. I'll be doing that on Tuesday. I'll be doing a free hit draft as well. So if you don't care about the future fixtures, just purely for Game Week 4 best players, I'll be doing a video on that as well. There'll be goals imminent as well, and also all the usual Fantasy Football Scout content there as well. Mark, thanks so much for joining me. We'll be back next week to discuss your firmer plans for the game week. In the meantime, good luck. Take care.
Cheers all.